Hello girls and squirrels, happy Monday and welcome back to my channel.
Hi, I'm Christina Sherilyn and I'm a vintage reseller, which means I rummage through people's unwanted items and find the most amazing vintage pieces to give them a second chance. I love styling up vintage clothing in a modern way, investigating the history of each piece, and most of all, I love the treasure hunt. So follow along on my journey and let's see what we can find.
It has been a second since I have seen you guys. I hope everyone is doing great. Welcome back to the next episode in my History of series. This is a series where I go over the history and the changes of different brands throughout the decades, and today's episode is going to be all about Liz Claiborne. Liz Claiborne is one of my favorite brands when it comes to vintage. I love her 80s and 90s pieces. That is Liz Claiborne gold right there. Not a huge fan of modern day stuff, but it is one of my favorite vintage brands. So that's what we're going to be covering in today's video. First, we're going to go over the backstory of Liz Claiborne herself. We're going to go over the history of the company. Then we're going to get into labels and their different changes throughout the decades, and also the style of the brand and how it changed throughout the decades as well. So get your pens out, get your pencils out, get your notes pulled up on your phone, and let's get into this video.
Elizabeth, aka Liz Claiborne, was born in Brussels and raised in Europe and New Orleans. Her natural artistic flair led toward her goal of becoming a fashion designer. At age 20, she got her first break when she won a design contest sponsored by Harper's Bazaar magazine. Soon after that, she was employed as a sketcher and model in New York's Garment District and worked her way through the ranks at several design firms. After working for 16 years as the chief designer in Jonathan Logan's Youth Guild division, she realized that the working woman needed more wardrobe options. Unable to sell the concept of stylish, sporty, and affordable clothes for America's working woman to her employer, Claiborne left the company and joined her husband, Arthur Ortenberg, and another partner, Leonard Boxer, to found Liz Claiborne Incorporated in 1976. Shortly thereafter, Jerome Shawson joined the trio. The company showed a profit its first year and became the fastest growing, most profitable U.S. apparel company in the 1980s. The company was doing more than $1 billion in sales and was listed on the Fortune 500 list. Liz Claiborne became the first Fortune 500 company founded by a woman to have a woman serve as CEO and have a female chairperson. Claiborne and her husband left the company in 1989, and unfortunately, the company struggled for the next few years. So here's a little tea for you guys, a little fun fact or not so fun fact. Liz Claiborne had a bit of a scandal in 1992 when Spike Lee falsely repeated a rumor that had circulated in the early 90s to Esquire magazine that Claiborne had appeared on the Oprah Winfrey Show in the early 90s and stated to the audience that she doesn't design clothes for black women. But as it turns out, Claiborne in fact never actually appeared on Oprah. In 1997, under the leadership of Paul R. Sharon, the company was able to move sales up to $2.41 billion. And over the next decade, the company would go on a high-profile spending spree. Here is a list of some of the companies that they bought over the next decade. I found this fact a little interesting because I had no idea that Liz Claiborne even owned some of these companies. Some of these companies were a huge shock to me, especially DKNY Jeans and Activewear, Juicy Couture, and Kate Spade. Which brings us to the downfall of the Liz Claiborne brand. Liz Claiborne made the worst decision in their company history, and that was to make clothes for JCPenney. It had nothing to do with the clothes, but rather that the lines were to be offered only at JCPenney. JCPenney was the main competitor to Liz's longtime preferred retail partner, Macy's, and during the next buying season, few expected a gigantic blowback from Macy's. However, they were wrong. Macy's drastically reduced orders for the fall 2007 season, leading to a 65% fall in earnings in quarter one and a plummeting stock price. For the first time in the new millennium, Liz Claiborne failed to make a profit, posting a loss of $372.8 million. All right, so now that we've covered the history of Liz Claiborne, let's take a look at the different labels and how they changed over the decades. You can go ahead and pause this video and take a screenshot of it if you want to save it for future reference. You can also find these labels and labels from other brands, if you're interested, at thevintagefashionguild.org. Here's a look at the style of Liz Claiborne and how it changed over the decades. My personal favorite is 80s and 90s Liz Claiborne. I haven't been fortunate enough to even find 70s Liz Claiborne, but I will be on the lookout for sure after this video. But yeah, here's a look at the style over the decades so you guys can kind of get a feel for it and be on the lookout for it. For me personally, I don't pick up modern day Liz Claiborne pieces, and you'll see why in the next slide. Which brings us to present day. As you can see, they are exclusively sold at JCPenney now. There's not really a whole lot of value. They are still nice items. They're good, affordable items, but for resale purposes, they just aren't worth it, in my opinion.
Alrighty, so that does it for today's video. I hope you guys enjoyed it and you learned a little something. If you have any brands that you would like to see me cover in the future, please feel free to leave those comments down below. Also, let me know any fun facts you have about Liz Claiborne. Do you like Liz Claiborne? Do you pick it up? Are you a fan of her vintage pieces? Are you a fan of her modern day pieces? Let me know all that down below in the comments. I would love to chat with you guys. If you like this video, please be sure and give it a thumbs up on your way out. If you haven't already, go ahead and hit that subscribe button and join our family. We would love to have you, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye guys.